Are you considering moving to Fort Lauderdale? We lived there for more than a decade, so I can tell you a lot about it. I worked with a lot of buyers in this town. Most of those buyers were either moving to Fort Lauderdale or buying a second home here. So I have a pretty good idea of the questions people ask. I'm gonna try to give you a balanced approach in this video, because it's not all glitz and glamour here. The dream phase. Why do people move to Fort Lauderdale and what is it that they love about it? The weather. Let's just start with the most obvious one. Imagine waking up to sunshine almost every day. That's Fort Lauderdale for 8-9 months out of the year. No need for snow boots here. Flip-flops year round will do. The beaches and waterways are incredible. It goes without saying that Fort Lauderdale Beach is world famous. For a good reason, right? Soft sand, clear water. But it's not just the ocean that's so amazing. We have an intercoastal system down here that's absolutely incredible. So whether you're into boating, paddleboarding, kayaking, it just becomes a huge part of your lifestyle down here. The dining and nightlife. Now when Candace and I moved to Lauderdale, there weren't a whole lot of options, I'm gonna be honest with you. But man, it certainly has grown. Las Olas Boulevard, just absolutely amazing. Option after option for you. There's beachside cafes. The food scene has evolved so much over the last decade in Fort Lauderdale. Honestly, I can't even believe it. One of the benefits of being in Fort Lauderdale is because of the weather, you can always be outside. And thankfully, there's a ton of outdoor activities you can do. So beyond just going to the beach or cruising around in a boat or something, there's lots of parks. You can go running whenever you want. There's just endless opportunities for an active lifestyle out here, which incorporates the outdoors. Let's talk about location. If you need to get down to Miami, you can. If you want to go check out the Everglades, you can. But what I thought was most helpful when we were living down here is if you need to get to the airport, Fort Lauderdale Airport is really close to the downtown area. It's literally just a handful of minutes. But if that's all the dream, here's some of the reality that you need to know. First, remember how I said that it doesn't really rain for 8 or 9 months? Well, for 3 or 4 months, it rains a lot. And when it rains a lot and you're in summertime, it's gonna get hot and it's gonna get humid and you're gonna sweat just standing still. That being said, everything down here is air conditioned, so it's not like you can't escape the heat. You just kind of have to learn to put up with it or at least tolerate it. Let's talk about the cost of living. Look, this is not a big secret and it's worth reiterating to you. Fort Lauderdale is an expensive place to live. There is no way around that. You're gonna pay a premium for sunshine. It costs a lot to build down here. It costs a lot to buy homes down here. It costs a lot to rent down here. There is no question about it. If you're looking for some place that's wildly affordable, Fort Lauderdale is not that place. I'm just gonna be perfectly honest with you. It's just a pricey place to live. That just kind of comes with living on the beach and having everything that Lauderdale has. Traffic and walkability. Look, we gotta talk about these. While there are some areas of Fort Lauderdale that is walkable, I would not consider, on the whole, Fort Lauderdale to be a walkable place. You're gonna be car dependent, no question about it. Now, if you're living, for example, on the beach and you wanna say, well, I can walk up and down the beach, that's walkable, that's very true. But there's also not a grocery store that you're gonna be able to get to within that walk. So no matter which way you slice it, you're gonna have to bring a car with you. The most walkable area, I would say, if you have to choose one, is gonna be being in downtown Lauderdale. If you're gonna be in downtown Fort Lauderdale, you could make an argument for not having a car if your place of work is close by and you can take Ubers when you need. But outside of that, Flagler Village, somewhere close to Las Olas, those would be the only places where I would even attempt this. Now, if you are gonna be in the car, we gotta talk about traffic. Traffic in Lauderdale can be brutal. I mean, absolutely brutal. If you're trying to get from 95 and get into downtown, and it's during rush hour and you need to come across on either Broward Boulevard or Oakland Park Boulevard, it's gonna take you a while. I mean, it's real common to have a 15-minute drive turn into a 45-minute drive. Is it a deal breaker? It wasn't for us, but I make sure people don't underestimate that because it is a reality of living in Fort Lauderdale. There is a lot of traffic. And quite honestly, as the city grows, that traffic's only going to get worse. The next two categories, I'm going to leave it up to you to research. Crime and homelessness. I think it's something that you're going to want to look into the statistics if you're considering moving to Fort Lauderdale. Different areas have different levels of crime. It's worth researching. The same goes with schools. Now, schools is a whole separate video. If you're going public, if you're going private, if you're going charter, this is something we went through. I'm happy to talk to you about it. If you're trying to go to public schools, I would look at something like the Great Schools website, see how they compare, see which one might work for you. If you're going private, understand there's not a lot of private schools in Fort Lauderdale. Most of them operate on a wait list. So it takes a lot of planning now to get into one of the private schools in Lauderdale. However, if you're willing to drive and if you're able to drive west, there's a charter school system that exists in the western part of Broward County that's pretty readily accessible from Fort Lauderdale. Again, just a bit of a drive, but that may be an option you'd want to look into if you're looking for schooling and you want to live in Fort Lauderdale. All right, let's talk about the different neighborhoods in Lauderdale. Man, there's a lot and you have a whole lot of options. If you want to be somewhere that feels more city-like, downtown, being close to Las Olas, Flagler Village, that's really going to be where you want to look. If you want to be in one of the more established, been around here longer, a lot of families move to the neighborhood kind of areas, you would want to look at Rio Vista, the first neighborhood that Candace and I lived in Fort Lauderdale, or Victoria Park, or Coral Ridge. You'll also find a mix of housing in terms of years built, pricing, townhomes, regular single-family homes, just a whole lot of options in those three neighborhoods. If you want to consider traveling a little bit west and you want to get more house for the money, you could look at somewhere like Oakland Park, or if you wanted to stay within Fort Lauderdale, Poinsettia Heights or Tarpon River. If you wanted to do waterfront on more of a budget, you could look at Riverland Village. You could look at Shady Banks also. If you are more concerned with having a large yard and you want more yard space, we could look at options over in Plantation or Davie. If you want really large space, we'd have to go towards 75, get you out towards Southwest Ranches. My point in bringing this up is within Lauderdale and within the surrounding area, there's something for everybody, whether that's beachfront or large lot size or walkability. If you want it, you can probably find it right around Lauderdale or one of the surrounding neighborhoods. So in my experience, who has Fort Lauderdale been for and who has it really worked best for? It's worked for a lot of niches. People that call me and tell me they want to live on the beach, I've often said this. We may build more buildings, but we're not building more ocean. So if you get a condo on the beach, I think it tends to be a pretty sound investment in terms of long-term value. Now, we can have a whole separate conversation if you're looking to just stay here for a few months and you want to rent your condo out. Fort Lauderdale is not a very good place for that. If you're just looking for a residence where you can fly into Fort Lauderdale, hop in an Uber, and you'll be at your townhouse with boat dockage in the rear. Las Olas Isles has a lot of great townhome options. That's something that you might want to look at. If you're looking to do it on a lower cost spectrum, something like 15th Street may be a better idea for you or something that you'd want to look at. If you're looking for a second home, you don't want waterfront, but you don't want the hassles of a single family home and you don't want the fees of a condo, we got a lot of really good townhome options. Those tend to work really well for second homeowners. For people moving to Fort Lauderdale or relocating, it kind of depends. What are you moving here for or relocating for? I've had a lot of young people that are single that come in that I help move in, and they do very well in the condos in downtown because that has everything that they need and want. Conversely, I've worked with a lot of families. About half of those families have originally looked at Fort Lauderdale, and then we ended up buying something out in Plantation or Davie. So it really kind of depends. But I think the truth of it is Lauderdale's for everybody. So look, what are your thoughts? Where would you move in Fort Lauderdale? Are you considering moving here and you have questions? My phone number is 786-443-7203. Please feel free to call me. I will put a link to my website down here in the description with a contact me form. You can go ahead and contact me if you're more comfortable emailing me or doing it through a web form. That's fine, but however you do it, let's start the conversation sooner rather than later. Remember one thing, nothing's worse for a buyer than overpaying for a property. Nothing's worse for a seller than selling for too little money. My clients don't make those mistakes. Give me a call and become a client. Let's talk.